Hello there, friends! I love mods for all types of games, but especially The Sims 4. And today I'm checking out Sacrificial Mods' Armageddon, the mod that lets your Sims become superheroes. So let's get started. Meet Josie, whose color palette is inspired by my favorite superhero, Sailor Moon. She begins her story powerless and an absolute zero. However, she was confronted by a cursed painting in the hallway of her San Myshuno apartment, who gave her a mission to save nearby Sims who were in trouble. And if she did, she would be greatly rewarded. This was turning into an interesting day indeed. Her super senses tingled as she sensed Sims in distress. The clock was ticking. Josie had to act fast to save them from burning alive and being stung by killer insects. Quickly, she raced to the Sims that needed her help. She sprung into action and unleashed the wrath of her fire extinguisher on both of them, and it seemed to do the trick, but was maybe a little cold for this lady. The day was saved and everybody celebrated, except for this guy who was, I guess, panicking because of the bees and dropped dead. Not the best start to saving the world. The celebration became a crime scene as passers-by gawked at the sight of Death himself, but Josie completed the paintings quest, so a hero was born. She proved herself worthy of saving humanity and was bestowed great power. As the great Tobey Maguire once said, with great power comes dead loved ones. The cursed painting came to Josie once more, this time to grant her otherworldly abilities beyond human comprehension. A superhero truly was born, and she was blessed with the superpower skill, which gave her a few new abilities, some boosts, and a new quest. The superpower skill made promises to make our Sim as well as others happy, with the new spells it provided for both saving endangered Sims and living life at ease. My first move was to give Josie a new walk style, a float style, if you will. She hovered slowly like a ghost across the city streets. There was a flea market going on, so plenty of Sims were gathered to hunt for deals. I decided to try testing some of her newfound capabilities by practicing a spell in the air. The Sims around her were quite thrilled. Josie's new life in the big city was quickly becoming an exciting one, and she was pleased with how well this was going, all things considered. I looked through her many new abilities and decided to practice a spell on the ground this time. She casually cast her spell on the ground around her, which continued to impress the Sims in her vicinity. She was easily acquiring more and more friends as she demonstrated her new talents. As she progressed to level 2 of the superpower skill, she now had even more spells, boosts, effects, a quest, and most interestingly, the power to fly. I wanted to see what interactions were available for nearby Sims and decided to spread the love since Sailor Moon is a soldier of love and justice. When she did that, I watched a cloud of pink hearts appear around the heads of every single Sim at the flea market. Everybody fell in love with our hero in an instant, and as a result of multiple new romances, she earned the non-committal trait. We had initiated romantic satisfaction with what seemed like every Sim in San Myshuno. And when I checked out what boosts we had, I decided why not increase the romance gain. Josie tapped into her super skills and made herself even more of a catch as everyone fell madly in love with her. Her new effects included permanently glowing eyes, which seemed to possibly cause blindness in the process, but she was fine in the end and now her eyes glowed. Her super senses tingled when she sensed an endangered Sim nearby. Danger had befallen this Sim who was engulfed in flames. Josie bravely, albeit slowly, floated over to aid this distressed citizen. After a handful of minutes, she managed to reach this poor woman and pulled her fire extinguisher out of her ass and put out the fire without superpowers. If anything, having superpowers in this situation kind of impeded her assistance since the floating made her lack all urgency. But the fire was out, we were graciously thanked for saving her life and made our way back to the flea market when our attention was drawn to this Sim, who suddenly started panicking, ultimately causing his end and my confusion. Grim also appeared confused, like he was wondering if he had just been here. Mourners gathered around the unfortunate scene, aghast at the sight of the second death of the day. Except for Josie, who was enjoying conversation with a romantic interest and ignoring the problem right in front of her. Death swung with his mystical scythe, and Minoru Yamashita was no longer with us. Friends and family bemoan the loss of dear Minoru, only then to have the hero this city deserves float behind them on her way to the shitter. After relieving herself, she went to talk to another romantic interest at the actual gravesite of the second Sim she failed to save. I was very curious to see what flying would look like. She began to take off, and I was slow to react, but put us in free cam. And when I did, I caught the craziest glimpse of her attempting to break the sound barrier. I was flabbergasted. It all happened so fast. Then she seemed to be recharging her super energy betwixt the legs of this human statue. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say. She stood up, and after a brief farewell, the human statue left, appearing to also be romantically satisfied. I needed to see this again, so I queued up flying and was prepared in free cam. What I saw was the most dazzling animation I have ever seen in The Sims. She swung around like she was a Barbie, and a giant invisible toddler said, "Watch, mommy, she flies!" She moved with such velocity, which seemed to be increasing the longer she went, and she circumnavigated the basketball court and food stalls for a much longer period of time this go-around. Everyone, including myself, watched in horror and amazement as she reached speeds that would surely send a normal Sim's butt through their skull, but not Josie, because she was blessed with superhuman gifts worthy of a hero. Honestly, this is not sped up. This is just how fast the animation went. You can tell when you look at the Sims on the ground moving at normal speed. I'm not exactly sure how this specific version of flying would be helpful to saving humanity, but it was, if anything, a sight to behold. I was, to say the least, very impressed. She landed with ease and went right back to wooing everyone around her. It didn't even deplete all her super energy going for that long, although her hunger was getting low. And I'd seen earlier that she could concoct food, and just as a slice of pizza poofed into her hands, she made it to level 3 of the superpower skill, now with the ability to body slam. Josie was making friends with a nice elder Sim named Ritvik. He was a vendor at the flea market, so I decided to bless him with money. She cast her spell on Ritvik, who celebrated with his hands in the air as money suddenly appeared in his account. She blessed this man right in front of one that she failed to save in hopes of balancing her karma. Her super energy was getting low, so I told her to regenerate. This time she rose in the air to regain her power, which made me wonder what that business with the human statue was really all about. But I watched as her super energy meter replenished itself. Ritvik was in awe as he witnessed power beyond belief. He may have been in the presence of a real living god. The market came to an end, but there was still plenty of excitement to be had when I chose to body slam Ritvik. Josie came up from behind and grabbed him by his pencil neck, and in a flash of lightning threw him over her head by his ankles and slammed his puny human body onto the pavement with the force of 1,000 suns, rendering my previous good deed pointless because it completely ended him. Sims gathered round to witness the third annihilation of the day. Was Josie actually the hero San Myshuno deserved? Was she really cleansing the streets of wrongdoers and ne'er-do-wells? Or rather, had she lived long enough to see herself become the villain? A mix of emotions took over as the loss of life from today saddened her, but also seemed to please her. Josie certainly had a heart of gold, but the curiosity of a cat that hurts everyone around it. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you want to keep up with my Sims and their adventures, subscribe to my channel. I want to say a very big thank you to all my supporters and subscribers, and if you're new, you can check out my other videos. Thanks again for watching. Until next time.